sort of set, no, no, it's not serialized.
So sorted set. Oh, it's saying something doesn't have a zero argument constructor. So that's probably your comparator that doesn't have a serializable constructor. Look at all the exciting stuff you're learning about. Okay.
One fun thing I found with the GWT client is it doesn't support string.format.
It probably doesn't. Yeah, string.format's a pretty complex thing to implement in JavaScript. So, yeah.
Because I have whenever showing the date on my original phone call, I added any single digits from 0.
Ah. Yep. Okay. So at the beginning of class, we implemented this much of the Pac-Man game. So now I want to contemplate what happens when we click play game. I guess two things happen. Let's go back to the picture. One is that is that fixed with font? It is not. There we go. Oh, that's just beautiful right there. There we go. One thing is that the UI changes. Now we go over here, and then also stuff happens on the back end, right? You need to go create the game based on the board that you drew. Let's draw a little bit more reasonable board here. And oops, extra plus there. That's weird. Oh no, that was going to be like the middle of the board or something. Okay. So yeah, you display some stuff, and then you do some back-end stuff also. Let's just do all the display stuff first, and then we'll hook up the back-end stuff to see our game being played. So we've now got two pieces of our UI. We've got this screen on the left here where you edit it, and let's just say play Pac-Man. Play Pac-Man. Sorry, you got this screen over on the left, this screen over on the right, and you want to go back between the two. Oh, I guess you also probably want to have some sort of button for going back, which would be something like Edit Game. And then clicking that will take you back over here. So how do I do this? I want to have one part of the UI shown until I click Play Game, and then I want to go to a different looking UI when I click after I click Play Game. Ideas on how to do that? A couple of hands go up. I saw you first.
You do hidden panel.
Hidden panel, show hide. Yep, that's another way. I did. Yeah, sort of the same thing. Yep, you could definitely do that, and then you'd have two panels. You'd hide one initially, and then you'd have logic for going back and forth. Luckily, GWT provides a container, a panel that will do that for you, and it's called DeckPanel. And it's because it's like a deck of cards that you sort of you have one card on top, and then you can flip back to other ones like that. So that's kind of cool. So then, we are now going to need a couple of. We're going to need some new stuff here. Let's see here. We're going to add widgets to a vertical panel. Well, that's not really what we want anymore. We need to do a little bit of surgery here. We want the vertical panel to have all of this stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's see where add widgets is used. It's right here. What I really want is to add two panels to this root panel. So I'm going to just going to inline all of this. Inline and remove the method. And panel here, editor. Oops. Is that right? It is. Okay, but I want. Oh, okay. Panel here is the vertical panel. Well, I don't want. Okay, so all of that. Yeah. So this panel then really becomes the. I want to call it editor, but I already have a editor right here. So I'm going to call this thing game editor. I'm going to call the whole panel editor. And then I'm going to, yep, I'm going to move all this out into a method, which is create game editor. And there's the root panel. It's not exactly going to be the root panel, but I will change that. I'm just going to call this parent. And panel? Yeah. I think that'll be good. Okay. Now let's run it. I think everything should look exactly the same. Yes, it does. This is good. Okay, now I want something else, though. In addition to creating a game editor, I'm going to create... Oh, and I don't want that to just be the root panel. Now I want there to be a deck panel. And I'm going to call this, I don't know, parent, bad name for it, equals new deck panel. Does this have any interesting properties? Nope. And now I'll add... I'll say root panel dot add the parent, and then instead I'll do this, and so basically now I'm introducing this. Let me draw the picture because it's hard for me to explain in words. So let me annotate some text here. Okay, so this whole thing right here. This is the editor panel. Oops. Editor panel. And this whole thing over here, I don't know, I'm going to call it, I don't know, like the gameplay panel or something like that. Gameplay panel. And both of those, let me see if I can move these up a little bit, make it a little smaller. Both of those are inside a, oops. Send it back, send it back, send it back, send it back. Order, send backwards. Send to back. There you go. Oops, all of those are in a deck panel. So what I'm doing here is I am composing all of these objects together into this big object graph. And so there's that root panel, and the root panel contains the parent. I don't know if I like that. I should probably call it deck. There we go. And I think I do, anyway, I think I do need to then, oops, create game editor. I think this does need to be called deck. And we add all sorts of, no. Okay, good. Okay. Now we reload again. Oops, what did I lose? Did something dumb. What did I do? Add the deck to the root. I add all that stuff to the to the editor. Editor is part of the deck. Oh, is this? Nope, I don't need to add it in any special order. Oh, this must be a deck panel. A widget and is widget or a child. Okay, so what doesn't it like? I must be missing something. So I have my deck. I add that. I add the game editor to the deck. I add my vertical panel to the deck. What happens if I just add to the root? And that just becomes a panel. Does that compile? So does this work? Okay, that works. Okay, so what's going on here? I'm not adding the. I wonder if I'm adding the deck panel to the deck panel in the wrong way. Let me quick look at deck panel. Did I mean it that way? I guess. Panel displays all widgets in the deck, whereas one is used by tab panel. Once there's a widget. So add widget, insert, before index, remove, set animation enable, show widget. Well, that should be okay. I'm probably missing something very silly here, right? So I add the deck. Oh, maybe I have to call show widget. I bet I need to do that. Okay, so I wonder if I need to call show widget. So I'm going to add that to the deck. And I'm going to say deck.showWidget 0. Okay, I guess that's what I need to do. I need to explicitly show the widget. Next, we'll give us a preview of what's going to happen next. So, yep. So I create the game editor, and then I'm going to create the, oops, I'm going to say create game player. Yeah. Also in the deck. And so this is going to be that other screen now. So now let's just make it simple as to start with. Vertical panel, and I'm going to call it player equals new vertical panel. And, oh yeah, deck.add player. And then label, I'm going to have another welcome equals new label play Pac-Man or something like that, right? What was it? It was play Pac-Man. And then no new line. And then player.add welcome. Okay. So now if I go and reload, we've got another child of that deck panel, but it's always hidden because I haven't shown it yet. So now I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it when I click the play game button. Okay. So now I got to go find the play game button, which is buried down here in create settings panel. Somewhere. Where is play game? There we go. Play game. So now let's just call it play. No. Kind of. So now when play, add click handler, new click handler. Now when this is click, I want to do the following. I want to say, show game player. And I don't have access to the deck here, so I'm going to do something which is perfectly fine to do inside inside UI code, which is I'm going to put that. I'm going to make that deck. I'm going to make that deck variable into a field. I'm going to initialize it in the method declaration. Field declaration. Sure. Cool. Oh, in which case, you know what? I don't really need to pass those in anymore. So I don't need to expose that to this anymore. And then here, and then remove first parameter, and now I don't want that here in that method because it kind of pollutes things, and so now I want to say deck.add that, and now I'm going to instead change this to okay. I have this return the player. Oops. So now this thing will. Come on. And oops. Good. Okay, so now the thing that creates it returns it, and now, and this way, this code doesn't need to know what the parent of the editor is, and I like that. It seems a little bit more clean that way. Let's try reloading again and see how we're doing. Failed. Try again. No, failed. Tell me why you failed. Oh, I missed a. There you go. Oops. I didn't complete this. Show widget game player is index 1, which isn't the nicest way of doing that. Try again. Hey, I just did it. I'll reload it. Okay, so now when I click play game, it shows the other card in the deck, the play Pac-Man thing. So now play Pac-Man panel. So now let's go back and let's fill out this thing. So oops. So now I want to have, well, basically the same thing that I've got down here. I want a settings panel again. No, I guess I don't think I really need that. Well, maybe I will eventually. But let's go back to my drawing. Now I want to do this stuff right here. I want this horizontal panel with the score and edit game. So I want a horizontal panel, and I'll call that score equals new. Well, I don't want to call it score. No, I'll call it panel. I'm not feeling very creative tonight. Horizontal panel there. Panel.add label, new label, score. Panel.add a new text box. That will be the score. And then there's going to be a button, which will be edit. That's going to be a new button, which is what? Edit game, edit game. Make sure to add that to the panel. Edit. And then make sure to add the panel to player.add panel. Reload. Play game. I've got more stuff. I've got a really wide score, so let's just do a 3-digit score. Score.set max length 3. Score.set visible length also of 3. Click play game. It looks a little better now. Cool. Okay, we're getting there. And then the last thing here is the oh, I guess we need to go back. So now edit.add click handler. And here we want to show not game player, but show game editor. And we just go to the other card in the deck now. Show widget 0. Then I can play the game and edit the game where it's going back and forth between the two cards in the deck. One last thing, and then we're going to pause for questions and comments. I'm going to add the text area. Text area game board. Oh, interesting. How do I get the dimensions for the text area? Oh, that was cool. How do I get the dimensions of the text area? I should probably have some state now in my object to do that. But let's we'll just do that next, and then we'll just add that to the player. Play game. Oops, I added it to the wrong place, apparently. Yes, I did. Play game. Okay, we'll have to fix that with a little bit. Okay. I just went really fast to figure this out. Let's walk through it more slowly. So when I started out, all I had was this. I had a GWT interface, and it had in it a vertical panel that had that edit label. It had that then contained a horizontal panel, and then it had the game board. And we had laid everything out. We had set up some event handlers on the two text fields to change the width and the height of the board. And then I wanted to implement the play game button. And so what play game does is then shows a different view on the screen. It shows that a player view, not the editor view. And so the way I did that is I did some refactoring, first of all. I needed to, instead of just having just this one vertical panel on the screen, now I needed to use that deck layout that allowed me to have that same vertical panel and then another vertical panel which represents the play board, the player. And that's this right here. So I had to, first of all, introduce that deck panel into the object graph, into the object hierarchy. And then I had to implement another vertical panel to implement the player. And I have the buttons that basically navigate between the two by asking the deck panel to display either the first, widget 0, or widget 1, the second, depending on which button is clicked. Does that make any sense? And are you seeing how you might be able to apply some of these tools and techniques to your Project 5? Yeah? Okay. Any questions before I move on? No? Okay. Because things are going to get a little more interesting now because we're going to start actually doing things with our game. Okay, so let me commit this. So right now, all I've been doing is just UI stuff, right? I've been building out the UI, sort of sketching it out, putting in the big chunks. It's kind of ugly right now; it needs some formatting and stuff. But nothing, not a big deal. It's just UI stuff so far, but there's been a lot of it. So add a panel for displaying the game being played. Okay, so then, now I need to do some more interesting stuff to when I click the play game button. Now I actually want to start the gameplay. Now the way I have this designed is that the game logic is all implemented on the back end, and so then let's talk about the things then that the front end needs to ask the back end to do. So first it needs to create a new game. with what's ever here in the editor. So you need to create a new game there, and then it needs to play it. And it'll be the front end that controls, that sends the back end input, like, oh, change and face this direction, or it'll also tell it, hey, go do another tick, go move Pac-Man in the direction that he's going. So those are the kinds of things that the front end needs to tell the back end to do. And then I guess the front end also needs to be told what the board looks like right now, right? It doesn't know. It doesn't know what the board looks like during the game. It only knows, like, hey, I ended at the beginning of the game, but then it's really up to the back end to tell it, hey, what does the game look like now? So let's figure that out by implementing our front end and our back end. And because we're changing the back end code, we're going to have to like relaunch debug mode, or we're going to relaunch dev mode a bunch of times. So I'll probably be writing a little bit more code than I normally would. Okay. So now, when I click play game, there we go. Before I show the game handler, actually what I need to do is instead of just show game handler, I need to let's have a method called play game. Oops. Play game, and let's see here. I need to send it the board, and the board comes from the editor. And does this thing have the editor? It does. So that'll be editor.getValue. Okay, so and this is the board. So what I want to do now is I need to call the backend. I need to call my GWT service. Where is my service? Do I have a service? I have something called a phone bill service. That's super lame. I'm going to call it my Pac-Man service. Well, I can't rename it from here? Sure I can. Okay, and I want it to. I want to call a method called create new game, and I want to send it the board. So let's go talk to my Pac-Man service. As Pac-Man service async, so this is cool. So now it's got all this phone bill stuff. Phone bill, not so interesting anymore, so I'm going to take a wrecking ball to this. I'm going to take a wrecking ball to the non-async version. And I'm going to remove all of this stuff from this. I'm going to keep that guy, though. Okay. And so the Pac-Man service is going to have a method called, what was that? Create new game. That takes a string of the board. And I'm going to have a return an object called GameBoard. Oh. Yeah, this is this. And so then I'm going to create a class called GameBoard. It's got to be my client code. And then, what doesn't it like? Did I put it in the wrong place? Yeah, I put it there instead of here. There. Nice. Okay, so it's saying, hey, there's not an async variant. Well, create an async variant. Yay. Okay. And now it's saying I don't have this method, so I'll create the method there. This is again on the server side. And I don't know what I want out of a game board yet. I'm just sort of figuring this out as I go along. So this is, oops. This also needs to take an async callback of the game board. On failure, Do I report alert on exception? Oh, good. Caught. When I've got the game board, what do I want to do? Well, let's see here. I can't call that board. So I get this game board, and I guess, you know what I want to do? I think I just want to store it in a field someplace. This.board equals result. And I'll create a field. I don't want to know. I don't want to create it there. Nope. Oh, I don't want this.board. I want Pac-Man gwt.this.board. Good to know. And then I don't want to show game player until I've returned, until I've got the board, because game player will depend on the board. And let's okay. Now that I've got that, let's just go back to the implementation and just return a new game board. It will be a little more interesting later on. Okay, so now I've got the game board. So let's see here. If I reload this, it's going to blow up because things are out of sync, right? Game board has no instantiable subtypes. Yeah, so I think, well, that's interesting. No instantiable subtypes. I'm going to restart GWT debug mode and see if that helps. Or dev mode. Nope. What doesn't? Oh, module hasn't been compiled yet. Well, compile the module. Stale types. Oh, okay. Clean. Hello. What is it complaining about? Module hasn't been compiled yet. So there must be, I'm doing something wrong. Okay. This module hasn't been... Oh, it's still complaining about game board has no instantiable subtypes. Oh, did I create an interface or something like that? No, I thought I created a class. And I'm in the... So your game board is a class. It should have a zero argument constructor. It's not complaining about that. Do I need to do something funny here in the GWT XML? I don't think so. What doesn't it like about that? Oh, it doesn't implement serializable. I bet that's it. Let's try that. Okay. I don't know if that'll work or not. Implement serializable. That's a really weird error message, though, for it to get. And can I just reload? Yeah, okay, maybe it's that. So these are the things that you learn in developing your web application. Now, you shouldn't hit this because you guys are using phone bill and phone call, and all that is taken care of. The serializable stuff is taken care of by the superclass. Unless you include something that's not, yes, serializable. Yep. Oops. Oh, there you go. That looks better. Yes. Wow, that was an obtuse error right there. Okay. And now when I play the game, it goes back, but it's also made a call to the server, which maybe I can show you in the XHR or something. Network. Play game. Pac-Man. Post. Yep. All sorts of good stuff. Ooh, did something blow up? No, I guess that's just... Okay, a stack trace of some sort. Oh, that was just me. That was what was sent back and forth. Okay, and so then anyway, so it's communicating with the server by when it calls. So that's cool. Okay, well now we want to do something. We want some information out of this, and I think at this point I want to break into some. Well, I was thinking I may want to start writing some unit tests for the service, but I don't know so much. Because I'm still trying to figure out what I need from this service and from GameBoard and stuff like that. So GameBoard, I guess in order to display, I need to know the dimensions of the GameBoard. So I need to know the height. Actually, do I have another class called GameBoard in my Pac-Man? Did I call it the same thing? I did call it the same thing, so I probably just want this one over here. It says all the logic in it, which I really don't. I don't want all of this logic in the object that goes back and forth. I really just want a little bit of this. So maybe I shouldn't call it GameBoard. Maybe I should just call it. No, actually, let's see here. I think I should call it something else. Okay, so this will be a game. So actually here, I'm going to rename this Pac-Man game. And then let me just. Going to copy that over here. And so this basically contains all of the logic for Pac-Man, and that resides on the server side. So I'll just paste it over here. Nice. Okay. So Pac-Man, the board will have things like well, I think all it really needs is private final. Actually, just a string. I guess you need to know the width and the height. So let's see here. We need a constructor parameter for this. Yes. And then let's see here. What doesn't it like? Oh yeah, public no arg constructor. So we'll do that. And so this can't be final. Lame. Okay. And then we're going to want to know the number of rows and the number of columns. So public, and we want this for the UI, and you'll see how this is used in a moment. And this is return this.board.length, and then public int get number of columns. and return this dot board dot 0 dot length, and then that's probably good enough. Oh, no, then I guess we need to say public car array get row int index row, and then return this dot board dot row. So this is basically exposing what the UI needs from the game board. So now we'll go back here where we play our game. So we have this dot board as a result. Now show game player. Now we can answer the question. Oops. Show widget. Oh, interesting. Now we can answer the question: how big should the game board be? Sorry, I'm looking for it here. Too much code. What am I looking for? I am looking for the create game player. And now the text area here. So the board.set visible lines is this board.get rows, a number of rows. And then board.set character width, which is this board to get number of columns. So let's just implement our backend service to create a dummy board right here from. Well, I guess I can just do that. Let's not. New character array. Okay. Character array cars equals new character array of. Oops. Can I do this? No, I can't. Can I? No. Okay. So make a very simple 3x3. Yep. Cars 0 equals plus. This is awful. There's probably a better way to do this. I'm just not seeing it right now. 3. First row is that. Second row is, oops, Pac-Man, and then the last one is just like the first one. Oops, 2, and from cars. Okay, so if we do this. Oh, and then, still not doing it right, and I'll show you why. Yeah, okay. I'm putting this code in the wrong place. This is the code that creates the game player. This is invoked once when the UI is loaded. I want to set this stuff when the game player is shown. So I don't want to put this stuff here. I want to put it. I want to put it in the show game player method. Okay, and now I need to have that editor again. We'll call it board text area. And then we need to go back down there to the create to go save this off. Board. This is going to be put into a field, which we're going to call it board text area. Okay, so now if we look at uses of that, yes, so show game player. We update, well actually, so we update the board there, and we also need to display the board. Actually, and then for int row equals 0 while less than this dot board. Oops. Row less than this dot get number. Oops. This dot board dot get number of rows. Row plus plus. Text.append. This is equivalent to what your pretty printer would do, right? It takes the object and then makes it prettier, as you can see, or as you will be able to see. Board.getRow, row, and then board text area. Oops, text area. Set value is text.toString. So I think then that will actually show the contents of the board. So now we need to start over again. See if all that compiles with GWT. Do I want to do a clean? I feel better if I did. So what I've done here is I've implemented some stuff on the back end. Here in my service, I've implemented the create new game method where I send it to board. I'm ignoring this right now and returning some canned data just to see if everything flows through the system. So I'm returning that game board object that I created with the stuff to be displayed. That's really all it needs. It doesn't need any logic. It's just a bunch of data that gets passed back and forth. Actually, it's passed from the server to the client. And then here in my Pac-Man GWT, when I call show game player, so this is after I have made the call that has then set the board. Oh. I might not need to put this in a field after all, now that I think about it. Anyway, I populate the text area with the information that's there in the board. So let's see here. Oh, I'm not happy. Oh, what? It didn't... Pac-Man game. Oh, it needs a Pac-Man direction? Yes. Okay, stuff isn't compiling. I understand. Okay. I need to move... more stuff. Oops. So now what I'm doing is I'm copying. This is like what you're going to have to do for your Project 4 classes. There's some amount of stuff for your Project 4 you're going to need to copy over to Project 5, and I'm doing the same thing with my Pac-Man stuff. So I'm taking the code from the, hey, develop as a command line application, and put it over here into the GWT stuff. No. Pac-Man game is not what I wanted to copy. I wanted to do Pac-Man direction. Yes. Pac-Man game compile. Seems to do it now. Okay. Okay. Nope. Computing. Did you blow up? Nope, just think about it. As you add more code, GWT takes a little longer to do its thing. Okay, that looks pretty good. Good. Play game. Hey, now I've got a poorly rendered, because I forgot to put the new lines in, board there. So let me put the new lines in. I don't need that anymore. Or maybe I did. Well, I will get it later. And here, text.append that, and then text.append new line. And because I only made a client-side change, I can just reload this. Hit play game. Good. And there's my little 3x3 board. Okay. So, to recap, we've now started interacting between the client and the server. And the way you interact with the client and the server in GWT is that you use the service interface. And so I added, I pulled out a whole bunch of stuff from the phone bill. I instead added stuff that's appropriate for Pac-Man, which in this case, sorry, Pac-Man service, I have this create new game, which takes in a board and which is a string and returns a game board object. And the game board object gives you information about the current state of the board. Maybe I should call it game board state. No, I'll call it game state. Yeah, that's a good idea. And now anyway, I didn't need to rename my other thing before, but that's okay. So I do that, and it has an implementation here, which right now creates dummy data, and I'll go through after break and get some more interesting data because there's a couple more things that we want to add. And then on the client side, getting too many classes here. On the client side, let's see what this is called there. Okay, on the client side, I have a play game method that takes the board that was input by the user, sends that off to the service. And you'll recall, in GWT, these are asynchronous services, meaning that you go and you call the method, but it's not going to return immediately, right? It's going to go and it's going to make the call to the server, and it's going to return the result, and it delivers your result to one of these async callback objects. And if something goes wrong, yep, you handle that appropriately, but if something goes right, then what do? Well, we store the result in the board variable and call show game player. I think I want to change this. I realize that I don't really need to store the board. Instead, all I need to do is show the result. So let's just show the result. And let's get rid of board. Let's change this to be board. Well, game state. No, let's just call it state. Add game state here. And now, if I go into that, I just replace this .board with state. And now I think I have no more need for this .board. Yes, I can get rid of it. And that's nice. It's less state to keep around. We just pass the, oops, what doesn't it like? How come it didn't delete that? Add constructor parameter. No. Delete. There we go. So let's try it one more time, and then we'll break. And then I want to talk about what you're getting out of this. I'm having fun programming, but I want to make sure that I'm suiting your needs. And so let's use the last part of class then to get any of your remaining questions answered. After it rebuilds. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay, let's reload this. Play game. Yay, edit game. Oh, we're also going to need the score. Well, anyway, we can add details like that after break. So, 10 minutes at 7:55 when the big hand is on the 11. And then this will be the end. This will be the last part. So I'll talk about the final. Stay tuned.